Now, Christmas movies are not really like regular films, are they? They're annual rituals. Every December or earlier, we return to the same snow-dusted streets, the same batch of comforting festive fare. But with so many Christmas movies, decades worth in fact, it's easy to forget just how rich and varied the classic era of Christmas cinema really is. And so, of course, in this video, we're going to step back in time. No CGI snowstorms, no smart-ass meta-human, no 21st century chaos, just 10 timeless Christmas films from the golden age of Hollywood. Stories that feel drenched in warmth, wit, longing, music, faith, joy, and a little old-fashioned Hollywood magic. Now, whether you're revisiting the greats or discovering a new seasonal favourite here, this list will hopefully inspire some classic Christmas viewing. So let's take a look. So It Happened on Fifth Avenue from 1947 is a lesser known gem. Now, this film blends comedy, romance and social commentary with unexpected grace. Now, when a homeless man secretly moves into a millionaire's boarded up mansion for the winter, he gradually builds like a little makeshift community of fellow down and outs, totally unaware that one of them is actually the homeowner's daughter in disguise. Now, what begins as a sly bit of trespassing, of course, becomes a warm, chaotic patchwork family. Now, the Christmas setting, of course, sharpens the film's themes of charity and belonging, but it also avoids a lot of preachiness, and it favours gentle humour and heartfelt charm. It's a hidden gem, this one, certainly, so check it out if you can. So The Bells of St Mary's from 1945 is quite a quirky mix of drama and gentle comedy, and it pairs Bing Crosby's easygoing Father O'Malley with Ingrid Bergman's calm, steady Sister Benedict as they pair together to try and save a struggling parochial school. Now, their back and forth, part playful sparring, part genuine admiration, does give the film a little bit more depth than its simple premise might suggest. Moments like Bergman teaching a young boy to box or the impoverished Christmas pageant do add light-hearted fun without ever losing the story's emotional core. Now, at its heart, it is a celebration of compassion and the idea that kindness can show up even in the toughest situations. The chemistry between Crosby and Bergman makes every scene feel effortless, keeping you smiling even during some of those more serious moments. Now, 1940s, The Shop Around the Corner is set in this little charming Budapest gift shop during the Christmas rush. Ernst Lubitsch's romantic comedy perfectly balances humour and a touch of melancholy. Now, James Stewart and Margaret Sullivan here play co-workers who can barely stand each other, not realising that they're also anonymous pen pals sharing these tender letters between each other. Now, beneath all the laughs, the film does quietly explore the loneliness of the festive season, and it gives it a bit more depth than you might expect. Now, Lubitsch keeps things light and playful for the most part, though, letting the emotions simmer rather than boil. The result is a pretty timeless Christmas love story that still charms even today. And of course, it inspired the 1998 remake, You've Got Mail. Now, the chemistry between Sullivan and Stewart here is amazing, making every awkward encounter and stolen glance a pleasure to watch. Now, part fantasy, part gentle romance, The Bishop's Wife stars Cary Grant as Dudley, an angel sent to help a busy bishop, played here by David Niven, who's so wrapped up in fundraising that he's lost touch with his wife, played by Loretta Young. Now, Grant's effortless charm, of course, steals nearly every scene, but the real heart of the film lies in this quiet look that it has at faith, and not the preachy kind, but in noticing people around you and showing gratitude and expressing your love to others. It's definitely a Christmas movie, but it's really about rediscovering what truly matters. Now, the warmth and humour in the story are, of course, its strengths, and every scene with Grant's Dudley can't fail to bring a smile, and of course it later inspired the 1996 remake, The Preacher's Wife. Now, it's funny really, because 1944's Meet Me in St. Louis isn't really a straight up Christmas movie, but those winter scenes have basically become legendary across cinema, and of course there's Judy Garland absolutely wrecking everyone emotionally with Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Now, the film itself hops through the seasons leading up to the 1904 World's Fair, mixing family chaos, first crushes, and that nostalgic glow that you only get from some of these classic Hollywood movies. Now, Minnelli turns everyday family life here into something quite magical and full of colour and real feeling emotion. And that Christmas section, it nails that bittersweet feeling of things changing and wanting to hold on to whatever you think home means to you. So even though the movie's bigger than just Christmas, it still feels like a festive must-watch. Now, the predecessor to 1954's White Christmas is 1942's Holiday Inn, and this one stars Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire right at the peak of their powers. And the story jumps from one holiday celebration to the next, with the Christmas scenes, of course, stealing the show. And it's here that Crosby first sings White Christmas, and not the big triumphant version that we've all come to know, but a quiet and quite melancholy version. This, of course, set during wartime. Now, props to Astaire, of course, for his jaw-dropping dance numbers, bringing his usual energy and flair, but the supporting cast and the festive sets add just that extra sparkle, making the whole thing feel like a quite warm, nostalgic treat, if that makes sense. It's not perfect, but that classic studio era charm still hits hard, and you can't help but leave smiling. And so, on to White Christmas from 1954, a classic technicolor feast of romance and classic Hollywood spectacle. This has Crosby and Kay play entertainers who team up to help a retired general save his Vermont inn. Though honestly, the plot mostly exists just to give Irving Berlin songs and lavish set pieces the room that they need to shine. Numbers like Sisters, Count Your Blessings, and of course the title song really make the film sparkle. But underneath all the glitz, there's a surprisingly tender story here about loyalty and friendship. Right, a personal preference here for me, of course, but I feel that 1951's A Christmas Carol, sometimes known as Scrooge, I think certainly here in the UK, is the definitive Scrooge outing, no contest. Alistair Sim here gives the character just great emotional range. He's bitter, lonely, regretful, but ultimately ecstatic. And it's easy to see why Jim Carrey would draw on this performance for his 2009 mocapped version. Now, this adaptation leans fully into Dickens' darker social themes, showing a Victorian hardship with unflinching honesty, really. The ghostly visitations aren't so much spooky thrills as deep moral reckonings, peeling back the layers of this dude who's lost touch of his own heart. Now, Sim makes every moment of Scrooge's transformation feel completely earned, and the supporting cast adds warmth and humanity and keeps the whole story grounded. But despite the fact that it's bleak and hopeful in equal measure, it's the perfect Dickens balance. There are, of course, countless adaptations of this story, but somehow it still feels fresh no matter how many times you watch it. Now, 1947's Miracle on 34th Street is up there with the few festive movies that manage to be both whimsical and smart, but this one manages to pull it off quite effortlessly. Edmund Gwen's Kris Kringle here is so believable that the movie doesn't really need any flashy magic tricks. Instead, it treats Santa's existence as a legal and ultimately philosophical question, putting kindness itself on trial in a world starting to become obsessed with consumerism. Natalie Wood's skeptical Susan gives the film its emotional heart, of course, showing that belief isn't childish but can be brave. And the supporting characters add that extra bit of charm and humour that make every scene feel engaging. A warm, clever and enduring classic that still feels fresh today. And of course, shout out to the excellent 1994 remake with Sir Richard Attenborough. And of course, here it is, 1946's It's a Wonderful Life, the crown jewel of Christmas movies, probably. Frank Capra's masterpiece isn't as sentimental as many have made out over the years. It's more honest, I think. It starts out as a story about the struggles of adulthood, frustrated dreams, and, well, the weight of just adult responsibility in general, and slowly turns into a revelation about the quiet, unseen value of just an ordinary life. James Stewart gives what might be his finest performance, nailing George Bailey's warmth, humour, bitterness, and vulnerability all in one package somehow. Now, Clarence's heavenly intervention isn't so much a miracle as a bit of a mirror showing George just how much he shaped the lives of everyone around him. And the snow-filled finale is, of course, unforgettable, and it's the emotional heart of the story that lingers long after the credits roll. It's cliche to place it in the top spot, I know, but you'll struggle to find a similar list where this isn't the case. So these are 10 classic movies that totally capture what makes Christmas feel like Christmas, really. Kindness, nostalgia, second chances, and the idea that even the smallest thing that you do, the smallest life, can leave a mark. Now, whether you're watching an old favourite here or checking out a classic for the very first time, I hope this list does give you some festive inspiration and maybe even sparks a new Christmas tradition. Thanks for watching.